Hello everypony, Dale over here or Anna here with Applejack, and as you can see I'm going to react to Patrick Roadberry. I'm going to leave a link to the original video down below. So I have no idea what I'm getting myself into again. I'm going to react to this very blindly because I don't know who he is or anything about what he's doing. Besides, this is going to be a review of this season 7 episode 10. So yeah, that's all I know. This must be his OC in cake form. I like that. So, but let's just go before everything else goes wrong. Yeah, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Hello everybody, every pony, everything. I'm Patrick Roby, and now here's a little thing for you. This is the third attempt of me recording this review. However, the last two attempts were totally different. The first attempt was me completely being negative about this episode. The second attempt was me being mediocrely okay about this episode. The third attempt is me being really positive. Now, 1 minute, how can you have 3 completely different opinions on one episode? And the thing is, I kind of don't, but kind of do. The first time I watched this episode, I really did enjoy it. And I really did love it. But the second time I watched it, I saw the flaws and I saw some of the issues. But a part of me couldn't accept them for some reason. A part of me inside of me knew what I was doing, and I'll explain why. As reviewers, I believe sometimes we look too much at the little details. We sometimes spend way too much time pointing out the little flaws and things, and forget to look back and step back a bit and just look at the big picture. Because this episode is a really good big picture. Only when you step really close to it can you see the interdictable flaws. And yes, there are flaws in this episode, and I'm completely okay with this episode having flaws. And you're thinking, wait, you're okay with an episode having flaws? Well, no episode's perfect. I think every episode really has flaws when you really, really look into it. But
what did I say?
Was purposely trying to find flaws in it. And is that part of my critical brain just trying to find something that's wrong with this episode because it's just so good, or because I just want to find something more to say about it because I'm a critic, and to make it look like I'm bigger because I'm saying something that you would not normally see? And the more I looked at myself, the more I was realizing I was pointing out things that really didn't matter in the end of picture, really. And the big picture really, really was good. And when you look at it as a whole picture, you wouldn't change the little bad things because it would have made the whole picture bad at all, completely. If that makes any real sense. It probably doesn't to most people. You're going, what on earth is he talking about? He's just jabbering on about nothing, and he's just blaming the fact he's a bad reviewer and such and such. And yeah, I kind of understand that. And yeah, I can kind of see where you're coming from. But still, I think this episode's really strong. And it took me 4 attempts to realize that. And I should have just gone with my gut. And that's what this episode is about sometimes. You should go with your gut. Going with your gut isn't always a bad thing. And going with your gut can also be good. And the fact we get to see so much of the sisters is a great thing. Part of me was thinking, is this pandering? And I was like, well, if you didn't like the sisters, would you still like this episode? And I was like, yeah, because it's still a solid episode. There's so much to enjoy. You get to see the dream sequences. You get to see the days of 2 characters. Even though if you don't like them, they're still interesting days. And to see the roles reversed is still interesting. The Freaky Friday kind of idea of having body swap, or having their cutie mark swap, or however you want to say it. And seeing Starlight Glimmer go from basically confident to a train wreck because of Twilight Sparkle. And understanding why the map didn't turn Twilight Sparkle because she turned Starlight into a living wreck. Although that really does actually solve the problem in the end. Kind of weird, but kind of true. And the only thing I didn't really like is the Starlight Twilight scenes, because I think she's too much on Starlight's case. And yes, I can understand why it's in there, and I completely am okay with it being there. A little bit of a grumple to me, and in all honesty, it doesn't really get to me that much, and I'm just moaning for the sake of moaning again, because I'm a reviewer and that's what I do, and then all I do is flipping complain. Yeah, and I kind of start to empathize for this episode because it's such a solid episode. It does so many good things. Yes, it has also the little flaws, but those little flaws are there to help support the episode when you really think about it. Yes, I would love to see more of Celestia's Day and Luna's Day, and yes, I think Celestia's night scene is a bit rushed, and her transformation
Yeah,
of
yeah,
understanding Luna's is a bit rushed. But
I
in all
do
honesty,
agree,
I
but
couldn't really
yeah.
work out where would I change it to give more time to that scene, and I was like, couldn't. I genuinely couldn't find a solution, and so I was like, damn it, there is no real solution. So the scene is as good as it could ever be. And I was thinking, this episode has to score 80. And so why are you scoring it 80, Patrick? Why are you scoring it so low? I was like, why am I scoring it low? Because this episode's solid. The only issues I have are so small and so indifferent that they're not really that big flaws, and they don't really make that much of a difference. So I had to keep re-changing my score about this episode, and that's sometimes what some things you have to realise. Sometimes you get things wrong, sometimes you do make
80
mistakes.
out
And
of
this was
100,
an episode I
isn't
kept
that
making
quite
mistakes.
high?
I kept making silly mistakes, thinking, oh, the flaws are too big, the flaws are making the episode bad, or trying to use those flaws as a point to explain why this episode wasn't great, and that wasn't working. And I was really annoyed that I was trying to point out so many silly little details that weren't really big things, because I was just trying to poke holes in the small things when they weren't really
Oh, sorry for the lag.
the big picture. And I couldn't really step back for a second and realise what the big picture was and what the big picture really represented. And when you really step back and look at it for a second, you realise the big picture needs those small things. Even if you don't like them, the small things are there to help the big picture. And even though you may not like the small things, they're there for a reason. And if the small things you don't like are there for a reason, you have to accept them. You have to realise they're there to help the big picture stand up for the test of time. And that's what they're there for. Yes, you may not always like everything in a film or and everything in an episode, but if they're there to help the overall big picture, sometimes you can't always complain at them. Yes, they may not be the best scenes or the best bits, but they're there to help the overall picture. And if the overall picture is good because of them, you have to really step back and go, yeah, I really did like it, and the flaws I do have aren't really big as I make them out to be. And sometimes an episode's just great because it's just great, even if it does have flaws. And this episode does deserve a 90 out of 100. It's a solid enough episode, and that's all I need to say, because I'm Patrick Roby. Goodbye.
Okay. Bye. I'll end it here and end it with a picture of his OC right here.
All flaws and things.
Yeah, I'll end it here. I really like this. I'm going to like it, subscribe, I'm going to share it, bell, everything. I thought he was very funny. I really like this. Is it a cake figure or is it something else made out of plastic maybe? I don't know. I just think it's a fun way to do. It's a kind of a stop motion thing, and I like that. That is very clever and very old school, and I like old school stuff. So yeah, 69 showings. No, okay, I will stop. I really, I did understand everything that he was saying, and I strongly agree with him because I'm a overview person. So I am not the best at the small details, but I see the episode like for everything that it is and taking in all of the small details, and I don't care. Like, I can be like, I think this episode is amazing even though that there were the small flaws and stuff like that, and I just go further, and that is it for me. Where he is like a more detailed oriented person that looks and nitpicks in the small stuff. Remind me of some ponies also. But yeah, I really am enjoying all of this because it seems like you get more, what I'm seeing in the episode as well. And I will agree with all of the things that you actually said in this. So I don't know what more I can actually say. I do feel like it's worth subscribing, worth liking, worth going, watching, seeing what he's doing. Maybe I will go and see some of his other videos and see if I can find one where his OC is normally drawn. If I can't, though, I might draw his OC if he like me to do that. Tell me in the comments down below if you want me to draw your OC. I really like this idea with a green beard and stuff. I don't know what this is supposed to be, but yeah, who knows, and if he has a cutie mark or not and stuff like that. But all of this, now I'm going to stop before I ramble on too much. I like the fun parts where it's switching into these scenes, and also where in the start it was laying in some. I thought it was some paper or something. I really thought that was fun, and I also feel like he's, taking into account which episode it actually looks a lot like, the episode where Twilight becomes Alicorn and all of this. I do believe that he had like good what is that, references, or how to say that. So I really like this, also like this one, it's funny. But that is actually all for today's reaction. Do remember that inspiration is right around the corner. Do remember to take care of yourself and loved ones. And that is actually all for today. Yeah, okay, bye.